Bright and early cups, boys. Bright and early cups. I've been just trying to stay moving and grooving with these morning cups. I enjoy them. They're delicious. They're yummy. They're tasty. Today, with this cup, there's something about making coffee that's just so nice. There's something about the action of making coffee that is just like this really nice feeling. I think for me, making coffee, a lot of it comes down to just like the procedure and like the action of just doing it. I know that some people have said on stream, they're like, or chats, not chatting, the comment section have been like, oh, this guy has so much time on his hands to make a cup of coffee. It takes 15 minutes. I'm like, it takes 4 to 7 minutes from start to finish, depending on how long it takes for the water to warm up, which kind of kettle you're using. And I love it. I love it so much because it is this forced, like, slowdown, which I feel like is something that we as people need. The idea of slowing down. I feel like everything in our life, all things, games, just general work, everything is about getting more efficient, moving faster and faster and faster. How can we do 19 things at once? How can we do more and more and more every day? And while there's elements of that may make sense for certain people, I think those certain people, are few and far between. And even the people that are the big, huge movers in the world, the huge, giant billionaires, whatever, I think even they would say, just try to do one thing extremely well and then move to the next. I make coffee every morning. Every single morning. I have multiple ways I make coffee, right? We have multiple brew methods. I also have automatic coffee machines, whatever it may be. But coffee is something that I make every morning. It's a part of what people would call a morning ritual. And there's nothing magical about this specific action. There's nothing this isn't like the end all be all to getting up in the morning, right? There's plenty of people have different rituals, different ways they go about this thing. But for me, this right here requires me to take a step back and just allow for this to happen, right? Just intentionally participate in this activity. And during this, not usually when I'm live over on twitch.tv/JDXCoffee or making videos or cups or whatever, but like when I'm doing this in my own time, there is an element that is just this reminder that you don't have to go fast. You don't have to go hard. Like, it can just be a simple thing. It can just be nice and relaxing and easy, right? And I, over the past, I think, year and a half now, have been really starting to take to certain hobbies. One of the hobbies, if you want to call it a hobby, that I have started to really enjoy is reading manga. And the reason why I chose to read manga is because I already spend so much time like playing video games, using screens, that I wanted to step away from using screens, but I still wanted to get into some of these stories that I missed as a kid. Also, get into some of these stories that I was like hearing about. And so I'm like, I'm going to start reading manga. Also, as a kid, I always wanted to read manga, so I just couldn't afford it. This, for me, has been a really cool experience because it's this moment where I'm grabbing the book and I'm reading through specific stories and enjoying those stories, and I read physical manga. Now, I do have a subscription to Shonen Jump, which is a few bucks a month, and it allows me to digitally read. I don't read digitally because I am a fan of physical media, right? Not all physical media is possible in my life, right? I can't own every CD of every person I want to listen to just because it is not that easy and easy to find. I also can't always, unfortunately, have every physical title of every game that I own. With Nintendo, it's different, but with other specific things, it's not as easy. And so when it comes to the physical only life that I would love to have, there's just clutter and stuff that exists in that is not the most practical. Also, it is not financially responsible when it comes to having a family and buying things. So I've resorted to different ways of physical collection, right? One of them is vinyls, which I acquire very slowly. I'm not in a rush to purchase a bunch of vinyls, and I don't have a certain criteria for them, but that is one. My vinyl collection is not large. I have, I think, maybe a dozen different vinyls, and they're very, very different. I have specific special releases of video game soundtracks. Eastward, one of them, incredible. Sea of Stars, another. The Super Mario Brothers movie, which is kind of cool to have on vinyl. They're different colors, as well as regular bands like Incubus or Fleetwood Mac and Linkin Park. These types of medias are something that I have talked about before on stream because they are something that I enjoy, but it comes back to the idea of slowing down. We have, as a populace, we have become so obsessed with efficiency, with extreme optimization, with this idea of multitasking, with this idea of everything anywhere all at once, that I feel like we've lost track of that connection that we had with hobbies, people, even just everyday moments. I mean, there's always that phrase, living for the weekend, right? Living for the weekend. And I've heard it, I've said it, whatever it may be. I have friends, I'm thinking of a specific guy in particular who genuinely lives for the weekend. I have to finish my first cup before I have my second cup. It's not really a first cup. It's just I really wanted a little Nespresso shot. Yes, a Nespresso, which is basically just a fancy pants Keurig. So that's just a little shot of espresso, to get us going. But anyway, I'll drink this in a second. Living for the weekend. Well, what happens when you live for the weekend? You miss Monday through Friday. Some people might say, well, Monday through Friday, you're just going to work. It's my job. I hate my job. But stuff, really, really cool things can happen. And if you only live for the weekend, right, and let's just say it's Saturday and Sunday with the occasional Monday, that is 104 days a year, right, that you get. Let's just be super, super generous and say that you get 3-day weekends every other week, which is not going to happen, but that would make it 130, okay? 26 weeks in the year. And so 130 days out of 365, you're missing out on 356. You're missing out on 226, right? 226 days. Almost. That's 1.8, right? It's not quite double. You're missing out on so many days if you are living for the weekend. And the problem with this kind of thought process is you no longer are a part of a journey. You're no longer a part of a process. You are only looking to the destination. And this is something that I have struggled with greatly with social media. I think social media only shows off the destination, never the journey. It's something I struggled with greatly with my streaming career because I'm like, I'm not seeing the growth I want, so I'm going to switch it around. It's why today on stream, I'm going back to Final Fantasy because there is a journey that exists there that I like to progress through that journey, right? It's always that you hear artists talk about never arriving. The journey is the process. And in just making a cup of coffee, I feel like this is just that reminder that there is a process, there is a journey, there is an experience to be had throughout all aspects of your day, your life, and just everything. When I make my coffee in the morning, there are different things that happen. The first thing that happens is I have to select which coffee I want to have. Do I want to have my Ethiopian co-chair, or do I want to have my own personal coffee that I'm partnering with my favorite coffee shop to make and sell eventually? I have to choose. Today we went with the Ethiopian co-chair. From there, I get to grind it. And now with grinding, I go, okay, am I going to be going with a V60? Am I going to be doing a pour over? Am I going to be doing an AeroPress? Am I going to be doing a large AeroPress? How am I going to be making my coffee today? How am I feeling? What do I want? Do I want something a little bit more flavor forward? Do I want the complexity to come out? So let's pick. Let's choose. Let's get excited about this moment. Next, I go, okay, I need to get my water going. Now, which coffee am I using? So this is going to be a lighter Ethiopian coffee, so we're going to have to get as hot as we can with the water, but I'm at, 1,500 feet elevation, so I can't go up to 212. I can only go up to 210. So let's get that going. As the water boils, I grind the coffee. It's fresh. The gas is released. I put it into the brew method, which I have preheated and I have rinsed. And then I start brewing the coffee meticulously with intention and understanding that the bloom allows me for the carbon dioxide to release as I'm going, and as I let that bloom go, I don't want to let the grinds get too cold. So at the 40-second mark, I start pouring hot water and I view and observe it as it's going and falling and pulling all of that coffee off of the middle grinds and extracting it to make this beautiful, yummy, dirty water we drink every day. And as that's going, the gases are releasing, the smell is filling the room. I'm getting the aromas, and it's just so delicious. I'm smelling the different punchy berries, the yummy, more darker tones that you would get in a very simple Ethiopian coffee, just to have it pour off into a cup and wait for a few minutes, because you perceive heat before you perceive flavor. And so if I was to drink this hot, I would taste absolutely nothing. And so I'm waiting to drink it nice and room temperature, a little bit warmer, to let it mix into my body and get me excited. Now, as someone with ADHD, caffeine doesn't do much for me. It helps me focus. It actually calms me down, if anything. And so I don't look to my morning coffee to wake me up. I drink 32 ounces of water, sometimes 40 ounces of water, first half an hour of waking up. That really gets me going. And actually, biologically and chemically and internally, it makes me a little bit more awake than anything else. I look to my first cup of coffee because it is the reminder that today can have every moment be something that I remember and I cherish, rather than looking to the end. If I was to wake up in the morning and have an automatic coffee maker that is just ready to go, so I wouldn't have to spend 5 to 7 minutes getting my coffee ready and making those decisions and getting excited about it, then I could just get on with my day and start working and get things going. I could wake up 5 minutes before I have to stream and have things going, but no, I don't. I wake up 30 minutes before I stream to really try to enjoy these moments. I never want to be the first obligated thing that I have to do to be the thing that I do first. Does that make sense? I have friends who open coffee shops with me. I have friends who open CrossFit gyms with me. I have friends who would wake up with me and wake up early. Not with me. Well, sometimes I be buddy, spend the night, have a good time. That happened. Okay. And with that, I have friends who are like, yeah, I wake up 10 minutes before I have to leave and I get out the door. I'm going to, kind of wake up in the car. That sounds crazy to me. Dude, when you get that first sip, it gives you chills. It's so delicious. That is so delicious. So delicious. Oh, Billy. That's great. That's great. As I was saying, let me hold on. As I was saying, I don't understand the idea of waking up 5 minutes before I have to start doing something. As I said, I don't want the first obligated thing to do to be the first thing I do. If I need to be at a gym to coach a CrossFit class at 5 a.m. and it takes 25, 30 minutes to drive to that gym, I'm not waking up at 4:25. with 5 minutes to put my clothes on and leave. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to walk downstairs, to make a cup of coffee, to sit down in a chair, and to slowly drink it for a little bit before I have to leave. Because I want intention to start my day. I want the decision making to be mine. And I want the thought that I have something I'm obligated to do to not be forced upon me, but rather to be a part of my actual decision making process. Whether that's psychologically a thing or not, that's just the way I function. And I feel like the idea, the thought process behind how can this guy have so much time to make a cup of coffee is so off base. Rather, it's not that I have so much time to make a cup of coffee, is I have so little time that I cannot afford to not be intentional with every decision I make. And what coffee helps me, and what I pour over, and what this helps me do, is it helps me maintain a level of intention throughout my day. And this is the spectacular, I keep saying spectacular, I'm changing my word. This is the phenomenal thing that this process can do for you. It's not that drinking coffee is anything special, though some people might say it's magical. I think that it's magical. It's that the art, the process, and the activity of making your own cup of coffee can ground you. Pun intended. Hey, look at me in the morning, dude. Big pun energy, dude. Look at me. Look at me, huh? I find myself loving these little cups, these conversations, because I don't know where I'm going with them when I start them. And today, this is such a cool thought that I love talking about, because I don't get to talk about it out loud often. It is an internal thing for me, but it's hard to explain to somebody this when you could just push a button and make yourself a decent cup of coffee. There is, I don't make coffee because I want pretentious coffee. I actually don't even care about fancy pants coffee. I do enjoy fancy pants coffee, but I'll still go to one of the big chain coffee shops and drink their coffee that has zero complexity and in some ways tastes bad to some people. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't matter to me. I just enjoy the beverage, and sometimes I'm like, I want to drink a cup of coffee and the only thing I have around is a Starbucks. I'll go get one. I don't it's fine as long as it's in the coffee budget. Right. It just doesn't matter for me. But this process is exciting. I remember we were having a birthday party for my child. And there were about, 30 or 40 people here, right? Just family, right? Because kids, a 3-year-old birthday party, who cares, right? Hey, anyone out there is doing huge birthday parties and spending thousands of dollars on your 3-year-old? I'm going to say it. You're crazy, dude. And honestly, you're just doing it to be... Here we go. I'm going to start firing off shots right now, dude. It's morning. No one's up, dude. I can just be shooting into the wind, but I'm doing it, dude. I'm firing off shots. Ready? Anyone who spends thousands of dollars on a birthday party for any child that's under 5, 6 years old, I would say never spend $1,000 on a birthday party, but anything. 4, 5, 6-year-old, what you're doing is you're trying to freaking whip it out in front of all of your friends to be like, check out what I did for my kid. It's not for your kid. Your 3-year-old's not going to remember freaking princess party and ponies. Stop doing that. You know what my 3-year-old's party was? Simple. In my 3-year-old's party, we did that. We wanted to have our friends and family be like, this was a cool party. But we didn't spend that much. What we did was we got really bomb food from a Mexican restaurant. And people were like, dude, this is like bomb food. I'm like, yeah, that's right, it's bomb food, dude. And you know what my daughter did for her birthday? She rode her scooter outside in front of our house with all of our neighbors. And they played in the cul-de-sac, dude. Like 10 kids. I set up an obstacle course with cones, and that's what they did. That's the party. And then they'd come in, they'd have a bean and cheese burrito, and they'd go back out, and all the parents would sit around. They'd eat Mexican food. Mexican food's the best, dude. And then they're like, yo, man, we need coffee. And then I was like, let me make coffee for you guys. I spent half an hour of my daughter's birthday party. It was fine. She was playing. It was fine. Hand making coffee. And they're like, are you hand make? Never mind. If you have to hand make it, I'm like, you don't understand how much I love this. I got 2 kettles out. I was going back and forth. I was making a cup of coffee, 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 making a cup of coffee. It was the greatest. I loved it. But the process of it is something I love. I love this process. And as I think more about how this pertains to life and video games, it's simple. I think that we as a people, this is worldwide, by the way, worldwide, Some areas have it better than others. I think it's a westernized thing more than ever, but we are in a culture of grinding, right? I think the grind culture we should be a part of is the coffee grind culture. I think the grind culture should be slowing the heck down, dude. Grind yourself a cup of coffee and make it by hand. Hand grind it even if you want to. I don't know, just do it. I think we are so much so. We are so locked in to this like insane, I got to get it done. I got to make it things happen. Dude, I don't know how we're going to make ends meet this month. Ad revenue's on the low. Like some of these cup videos don't get the views that they need, but still there is so much intention that needs to take place. And that's the problem. And I think with the video game industry, it's the same thing. We're seeing this massive push, massive gnarly angry, not angry. I was going to say a bad word. This gnarly push for get it out, got to get things going, speed, even though it takes forever, like really push to get this game out. It doesn't work on launch. We got it, like whatever. There's no more care for the craft. There's no more care for the process. And that is the thing that I'm like, man, I wish that maybe we as a people would just slow down a little bit. I love the thought of being intentional with everything you do. I understand that it's not realistic to make everything last 10 to 15 minutes throughout your day. Maybe there's some things you just can't do every single moment of every day, and you just have to, let it go. But what if the things that mattered got more attention? But rather than just attention, there was a massive amount of intention behind it. I really, this conversation that I'm having right now is speaking more to me than, maybe it's speaking to you. But I felt this. I felt this as I was making this cup this morning. I'm like, why is it that I do make a cup for 5 to 7 minutes? Why is it that I enjoy this so much? And why is it that I enjoy reading manga and listening to vinyls and just slowing down? Why is it that I intentionally make it so that I don't have all these options? Why is this? Why am I doing all these things? And I realized that it's coming down to that very specific thing, which is it's because I'm choosing to. I'm actually partaking in this activity. I am participating. I am enjoying myself. And it's not by design, but rather by decision. That is so powerful to me. I don't want to do something that is designed for enjoyment. I want to decide to enjoy it. I don't want to be told this is what you do and now you enjoy it and now you move. I want to make active decisions and be involved in that. I want this to be something that my child experiences too. Yesterday we had movie night and it was sweet. I had to, my daughter's watching. She wanted to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, so my wife and I watched Nightmare Before Christmas with her. She sat down, and at the beginning of Nightmare Before Christmas, I had to set this stuff up for today, and so I was doing that, and I was sitting there going, look at where we've gone. Daughter's watching a movie. She's locked into it, but she's just sitting and watching it. But we as adults have so much that we've put on our plate that we're like, okay, so my daughter's watching the movie. She's going to be locked and loaded. I can get a little bit of work done while this is happening. Dude, when was the last time you sat and watched a movie? Phone was off, not in your hand. Video game system wasn't there. You were in that moment. How many moments are you fully in? It's crazy. And so let's make today the first day maybe that every moment we can be in. Let's try to enjoy. Let's try to notice the very sidewalk we walk on. The drive to work, the whatever. Let's notice it. It sounds so cliche to say, but that we've heard the phrase "stop to smell the roses." I think that the idea of stopping to smell the roses isn't the actual action of stopping and smelling the roses. It's noticing that every time you pass by somewhere, there's an actual beautiful thing growing next to you. rather than just focusing on your feet or what's ahead of you. It's the idea of the process. It's the idea of getting to a certain area. Would you notice the rose if you were focused on the end goal? Probably not. But if you're focused on the process of getting to a certain area, you might notice there's roses, there's tulips, there's all these beautiful things around you to stop. And the journey is the action. That right there is something that I feel like is powerful. I remember one day I was driving to work, a job that I absolutely loathed. I was terrible at it. I knew I was terrible at it. I was underqualified. I oversold myself. And every day I was reminded of how bad of a job I did. But there was one day in particular I decided, you know what? I'm just going to try to make this a better day. And so I decided to enjoy everything about that day. I'm like, I'm going to be intentional. And that very day, I noticed that on my drive to work, I would see a beautiful sunrise over the mountains of my, local mountain range. And I was like, I never noticed that before. And then ever since that happened, I noticed every time I went over the specific overpass to get onto a different freeway, there's this beautiful, wonderful visual of this mountain range. And I'm like, that is pretty powerful. That's really nice to look at. It warms me. I would have never noticed that if I didn't decide, if I wasn't just focused on what's in front of me. Stopping and smelling the roses, slowing down, being intentional. It isn't about the action. It's about what is happening internally. It is not, I'm making coffee. I am smelling a rose. No, it's, I am choosing to embrace moments. And as we enjoy our video games, do our thing, I feel like this right here is the thing that really can bring us back to center, right? Just enjoying stuff. And so, huge shout out to everyone who is here today, right? You guys are awesome. I'm going to go and play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with the people over in chat. Okay, so if you want to join chat, we're doing it. You'll see the schedule over in the posts tab on YouTube, right? Twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. You'll see the schedule. You'll see what's happening. I won't always change it. I changed it this week back to Final Fantasy from Zelda. I'm hoping that I'm enjoying that process more, but there was a challenge I made for my community, get through all the Final Fantasy games in a year. Let's do it. Shout out to Hollow Dube who gifted 1 sub. You get to be a part of the video. I want to just finish this off by sipping a cup of coffee and saying, play more and be kind. See ya.